I will invite my panelists to the podium to help us digest this topic. Now, first on my list is Mr. Jeffrey Intorin Cancer. He's a trade logistic consultant. He's also a business management and development practitioner with a demonstrated track record in the execution and implementation of value chain intervention for promotion and actualizing of the sustainable development of agri. He's the National Vice President of Commodity Brokers Association of Ghana. And in the sector of logistics, Jeffrey Jeffrey has worked with a lot of organizations like Olams, Coca-Cola, among others. So with a round of applause, please, let's welcome Mr. Jeffrey Ntorin Cancer onto the podium. The next person I'll be inviting to the podium is Enyuna Manye. Madam Enyuna Manye is a seasoned television host, entrepreneur, pardon me, too much of eating, you know. She's also an agripreneur and a philanthropist in Ghana. She's a graduate from the JAE University College, where she obtained a diploma in journalism. She continued to get a degree in strategic communication from the African University College of Communication, all of which are here in Ghana. Presently, she is a host and executive producer of an award winning entrepreneurship focused TV program called Best Trend TV show. She also produces and hosts a show called The Ghanaian Farmer. Please, with a round of applause, let's welcome Enyuna Manye. Please, let's welcome her. Next to join us on the podium is Mr. Samuel Esiama. Mr. Samuel Esiama is also the General Executive Manager for Finance and Operations at Kingdom Exim Group. Please welcome him. Thank you all for agreeing to have this discussion with me. If there's one thing I'm enjoying about this summit is the gender representation. Even though we don't have my gender representing fully, Marie Louise, I think, covered that aspect for us. And so I'm very happy to be a part of this discussion. Clearly, I'm gender biased, so we'll start from Enyunam. Let's go straight to the point. What are the opportunities for people in agribusiness under the AFCFTA?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me here, and I'm excited to be part of this discussion. First of all, the agribusiness sector comprises mostly of those who are in the industry and the service sector. It would interest you to know that we have about 49.2% of the people who are present in the service sector and then 21.5% in the industry sector. Now, the agribusiness sector employed a lot of people. But this is not smooth as a result of the many challenges that we have. Now, this among the challenges we have, you would definitely not mention these challenges leaving out access to credit. A lot of people want to invest into or go into the agribusiness space, but you need funding to go and buy even the farm produce from the farmers, transport it to the market or to the warehouse you're going to keep it before you start retailing. That is a problem. And of course, another thing that has been a problem to people is the marketing bit. If I go to the farmers to buy this produce, there's this kind of monopoly in the market where we sell. Go to Carnation, go to Agribusiness and other spaces. We have people, we call them market queens, and they dictate the pace, how much a bag, or let me say 25 kg or 50 kg sack of onion should be sold. That is another problem. Now, after, if you're asking me to tell you the opportunities that are there in after for agribusiness owners or those who are venturing into agribusiness to tap into, that will be a problem for me because after has not fully started operating. So how then am I even, in the know of what is there for me to tap into? As I speak to you, there's a lady in Gambia. I interviewed a gentleman who is into cocoa pits, and she's requesting for 100 bags of the 50 kg cocoa pits. And I am still asking myself, how am I going to transport this from here to Gambia? Because I've made inquiries with the flight, the freight forwarders, and all that, and the amount they are mentioning is overwhelming for an agribusiness owner, especially somebody who is very small, doing this on a small scale. So after it's still yet to start fully operating, a little is known about after among the agribusiness people. You know the kind of people who are in there. We have a blend of the educated and then the middle educated people in there. So those who are not bold enough to walk into that premises to find out if I want to do business and I need the help of after, what and what are the details. There are a lot of business owners who don't even know where the building or the structure or the secretariat of after is. And there are people who didn't even have the confidence to walk in there. So I think for me to be able to speak to opportunities in there, they would have to first of all find a way to liaise with the media and then deal sector by sector. If there is an office solely dedicated for agribusiness, then I know that if I want to do business or if I want to send goods to Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, if I want to this department in after, they are able to help me with logistics. They are able to help me with the tax-free issue that the man they called line spoke about. They are able to help me with the barriers to cross and make it easy for my client to take delivery of the goods. So for now, I'm unable to tell what opportunities are there. I mean, we will have to wait till next year, January, because they started this year, January. So let's wait for next year and see when they start fully operating and they make it public for us to know what and what they have available for us. Then we can then tap into that. But until then, I think the opportunities are mainly personal passion. I mean, individuals who are passionate about going into the agribusiness, they are the ones who are creating opportunities. There are investors who are equally interested in agriculture sector. Those who want to go into the processing, who go and buy the watermelon, the carrots, and other things. They will go and buy it and maybe establish these factories. When you go to Adam, they harvest a lot of chili. At the end of the day, there are no plants to process the chili into powder pepper. And this powder pepper, we keep importing them. How is this so? It's absurd to hear stuff like that, but that is what is happening. So until we have individual investors who come down to engage these communities, the farmers over there, what and what do you think can help you to continue doing this? Then after it's still there, we would wait till they start operating, then we can tell what opportunities they have for us. Thank you.
Mr. Siama, one thing that Enyunam kept hitting on is the lack of information out there about after. How do you think we can solve this problem about lack of market information and marketing skills?
All right, thank you. Let me just take a minute to introduce my company as you were profiled. So I represent Kingdom Magazine Group. That is a Ghanaian company operating within the agro sector of the country. We have 8 subsidiaries strategically positioned in the service, construction, hospitality, and then the animal feed sector. Now, to try to respond to your question, how do we improve the information aspect of APTA? For me, I would say one of the main platforms is where we are now today. Like colleague panelists said, the information is scanty as to where to source it from, and then also as to the real understanding of the benefit to the average person is a challenge. Platforms like this helps us to blow out the benefits that is supposed to accrue to the participants of the AFTA platform. However, I also think that we should find other simple basis of communication to the local person on the ground who wouldn't understand all the words and jargon that are used in explaining what the benefit is. There could be, I know there are a couple of TV programs that tries to explain what the AFTA is and then how the benefits will accrue. But I also think that we should also look at using some of the the social services within the communities. Because for us sitting here, we might understand all the words that tries to explain the benefits. What about the farmer that my sister deals with? Has the farmer even heard of the word AFTA before? Does he know how he's going to benefit in the value chain? So I think that apart from using these big platforms and then the other media platforms, there should be a basis of going down through the basic person to explain it in simple terms without using all the jargons and abbreviations to explain. And I think if that is done, the communication will be well accepted, the benefits will be well understood, and then when the platform takes off probably in January, there will be a consolidated help from all sectors to support it. That's what I think. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Torin Cancer, let's
Entering cancer.
into thank you. Enyonam, when she was speaking, made mention of the people that are in the agribusiness space. Apart from information not reaching them, what are some of the challenges you think these people will be facing? And whilst you are highlighting on the problems, can you also suggest some to these challenges?
Okay, thank you very much. Right? Okay. Before I answer, I would like to throw a bit of light on 3 other institutions I'm representing here. So I believe my profile was read. My company's name is Trinell, and Trinell is an acronym standing for Transformational Resources Enterprise Network and Initiatives Limited. So this was a company I envisioned about a decade ago, but it got started and running in 2014. And the main focus was to harness resources. That was long before AFTA was even envisioned. But sitting here, I'm wearing 4 other hats. I'm also representing the Commodity Brokers Association of Ghana, which is a value chain non-profit organization focused on bringing value chain actors in commodities, starting with agribusiness. So as part of our members, we have close to about 10,000 farmers across the country. And these are smallholder farmers in the production of nuts, tree crops, tuber crops, and grains. And generally, when they come under us, we become a space where we can do advocacy for them and also sensitize them about issues such as the AFCFTA. Again, I'm also representing the Commodity Brokers Association of West Africa, which is the West African mother group of the Commodity Brokers Association of Ghana. Before I answer your question, I would like to take a bite at the take of the question you gave to Enyonam and Asiam. I believe this is an investment opportunity summit. This is Africa. We know we have a lot of problems. But just as Michael said in the first panel session, rather than focusing on all our problems and making this another top shop, I believe this is an opportunity for us to highlight prospects and opportunities within the value chain to call for value chain development through harnessing these opportunities. So again, contrary to what Enyonam said, I'm a practitioner. I have a farm, I aggregate, I export. So I would like to pick it up from that angle. The opportunities and the after, I would like to start by first, laying the grounds. Africa, as it is now, is a continent or a market space covering a space area 3 times larger than China, 3 times larger than Europe as a market, and 3 times larger than the United States and North America combined. China, in terms of land space, is 9 billion square kilometers. Africa is 30.2 million square kilometers. What that means is that if you pick China, you pick Europe, and you take North America, and you drop them in Africa, they'll perfectly fit, and there's more space for other countries as well. Why this? It is the largest market where we have a youthful population, and at the same time, we have 90% of the world's natural raw material resource and 60% of the world's arable land. So now with this platform, what is after seeking to harness in terms of opportunity? From where I sit in terms of the value chain, anytime I go to conferences like this where I need to highlight the prospects of after, I tell people locally in Ghana, look at what we've been able to do with the cocoa value chain. Within the last century, cocoa has contributed more than 50% of Ghana's foreign revenue reserves from exports, because over the years we have Nananom here. We've managed to create an ecosystem where we've harnessed the value of cocoa farming by bringing incentives to the doorstep of the farmer. With cocoa, we did it through the state. But under after, we are saying that let the private sector be in the driving seat and drive that growth. There are challenges all over the world. We keep on complaining about our government, about our governments. The thing is, COVID was a wake-up call for all of us. I was excited, although it has had a negative impact on the market when COVID happened, when after took off. And let me correct this perception here. A lot of us think after hasn't taken off, but after has actually taken off. Why do I say that? I was privileged to be part of a conference that happened at the after headquarters, which they call the Start of Trade, SOT. And what does that mean? The Start of Trade was the first initiative that was triggered to actually officially say that intra-African trade is open. So 2 companies, one a liquor company, another a cosmetic company, exported goods from Ghana to Kenya and South Africa respectively. So after has taken off, what hasn't completely happened is the full integration of the goods of origin as Ajiman shared, which would allow 90% of tariffs and harmonization of our customs regime. That is not what has happened. So it means that there's a lot of misinformation happening in the market space. But as investors, as business people, my advice is that we should go online and research. If the farmer in the village doesn't know about AFTA, it is the responsibility of CBA and other non-profit organizations to send the word to them. If a government official was here
I would have addressed them and talked about the government problems. But since they are not here, we can only, highlight the issues that has to do with private sector and also highlight the opportunities that private sector can bring in. So in terms of the opportunities, I categorize this in three. One, partnerships. Two, integration. And three, forward market activities. First, partnerships. What AFTA seeks to do, whereas in the past we were looking at foreign direct investment, what AFTA is now bringing is the opportunity for businesses to partner with investors to be able to add value to raw materials. So, for instance, the farmers that Enyonam talked about in Ada, I know them. And these farmers actually produce chili. Originally, the farmers were encouraged to go into chili by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority when it was a council, because there's a huge export in Europe for chili. And let's not forget, Africa is at the center of world trade when it comes to global logistics. Why do I say that? We are in Accra, Ghana. My office is in Tema. Geographically, the port city of Tema is the closest landmark to the center of the world. Tema is the center of the world geographically. So take it or leave it. If somebody is exporting from Ghana to, let's say, Europe, it takes a shorter time than to export from China to Europe. What COVID has also taught a lot of the retail value chains in Europe is that you cannot depend on China constantly. Because if there's to be a lockdown or a shutdown like it happened, it means that you will not get access to finished products. So when AFTA took off, COVID happened. There's been a disruption in the market, but it has become a wake-up call for investors, just like Guillaume was sharing. In the past, investors thought that, there's so much risk in Africa. So they always would go away in terms of putting a lot of investment in Africa. The financial crisis happened in 2008. Africa survived. The COVID crisis happened. Even though Africa had partial lockdowns, our economy has been seen to be almost quite resilient as compared to the West. The opportunity now, even now, has to do with even global logistics. Logistics cost has gone up 3 times now. Partly because a lot of these freight liners that bring in containers to North America from Asia, when they go to North America, don't have products to send back. So they are empty containers moving. And now the cost of actually shipping empty containers from source to origin is even more lucrative. So the cost of logistics has tripled. These are all cracks within the global ecosystem for trade. It is an opportunity for Africa through AFTA to actually harness these opportunities and take advantage. So that's where partnership is very important. We are not just looking at FDI coming in. We are looking at investors actually partnering with local people. Because when the investor comes in to invest, we know there'll be capital flight. After he's done investing, he's going to send a lot of the money back to his home country. But where there is partnership, invariably the local partner is going to retain some of the investment locally, so that value chain people and the economy within which the processing and value adding was actually performed will benefit in the long term. So we are calling for partnerships. The next thing is market integration, like I talked about. As we all know, integration can be backward or forward. From where I sit in the agribusiness sector, CBAG, we have been promoting more of backward integration. Why? Because we currently have, forward integration. Why? Because we currently have a lot of farmers. They are producing soya. We all know that soya is in short supply across the globe. Why? Before the current government in America, the Biden administration took place, we all know about the trade war that happened between Trump and China. It shot soya prices up. Overnight, soya has become very lucrative. At the moment, we have the government of Ghana trying to regulate soya even moving out of Ghana, because a lot of people are coming in aggregate. Where I sit, because I'm also on the board for the West African Commodity Brokers Association, the same opportunities in Ghana. I was in Togo about 3 weeks ago, meeting with our farmers there. Similar opportunities. We actually have partners who come in from Southeast Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, just to help assist the farmers to do more planting so that they can actually export back. That is not what we are looking for. We are rather looking for semi-processed factories, which will be sited in these countries, so that we can add value to the soya. We can add value to the sesame. Let me give an instance. We trade sesame. Ghana doesn't produce much sesame, but Burkina Faso produces about 40% of the sesame production out of West Africa. Now, bear in mind that West Africa is the largest regional bloc on the continent because of Nigeria. We have a company called Woma. Woma is the third largest processor of sesame in the world. But Woma is based in China. What does Woma do? Woma buys about 140,000 metric tons to about 170,000 metric tons of sesame raw and ships it to China to process. Why couldn't Woma actually situate its sesame plant in Africa, in Tema or in Lome? We ship it, and just to give you practicalities as well, the current price of sesame is about 1,000 metric tons. Sorry, $1,000 for per metric ton when sold in terms of the export. But when sesame leaves West Africa and gets to China, they simply deshell it. They take the sesame grains out of the shells. Then they export back to Europe. And guess how much they're selling that for? $5,000. 5 times more. 5 times more. So this is where we are saying to investors that come in, partner with African industry, partner with African associations, and let's grow the value chain locally. Because apart from actually exporting out of the continent, there's opportunity to actually export to the continent's, market base in terms of people. Because what AFTA is going to do within the next decade is to grow the market worth of every individual, so that the goods that we produce locally, there is higher purchasing power for people on the continent to actually buy. So that's what partnership and integration and forward market growth. We are talking about intervention in terms of technology. Just as my brother from Botswana actually highlighted, we have to be seen to be patronizing, and it must be deliberate. Patronizing local continent-grown technology. Let's look at South Korea as an instance. South Korea deliberately, as a country, when they had independence, were on the same pedestal with a country like Ghana. They deliberately decided that they were going to help enterprises like Samsung, like Hyundai, to grow the markets. And there was a deliberate effort that assisted them. So we must be deliberate in terms of what? Patronizing technology on the continent of Africa, grown in Africa, to become a tool enabling development. Because as we know, technology is an enabler of development and not development itself. So again, the challenges, I believe my colleagues have highlighted it. Kingdom Exim is a strategic partner within the space. They are doing a lot. Kudos to them. In terms of animal feed, they are actually one of the gateways producing animal feed for the West African continent. I know these things. So I have worked with Kingdom in the past. But again, what we are saying is that we need 15, 17 more Kingdom Exims. Because they will tell you that during COVID, there was a shortage of wheat bran. There was a shortage of other grains that they required. Assuming if Kingdom Exim had set up a processing plant in Tamale, in Tumu, where I work with a lot of the farmers, what it meant was that the farmers will have security in terms of market access. So they would have produced far more. So, like I have said, Africa is a very large market space. There is a lot of room for us. As private sector, let's begin to focus on the prospects and opportunities instead of always highlighting the challenges and waiting for government to do something before we move. It is the age for private sector, and private sector must show the way and take the lead. Thank you.
Jeffrey, I'll still stay with you because you mentioned the exporting of soya, which has become very lucrative. I want to know, with after presenting all these opportunities and creating a bigger marketplace for all of us, how do we check food shortage, like food security? How do we check it?
Thank you very much. So, great question. It's something that is actually happening in West Africa at the moment. So, I'll speak to the issue directly as it is. So, just as I explained, because of the current global shortfall, a lot of aggregators, I work with colleagues and we try to collaborate, even though we are supposed to be called competitors in the after space or within the current business dispensation. What we do is that we collaborate, we co-opt and collaborate. So I have a lot of colleagues from India who come in every now and then to buy aggregation. Kingdom Exim is actually partly owned by an Indian interest, right? So Kingdom Exim, for instance, buys a lot of soya and exports to India. I'm aware of that because a lot of our aggregators sell to Kingdom. What government needs to do, and this is where state partnership comes in. So it cannot all be private sector. But increasingly what we are saying is that for after, let's not allow the state to dictate the pace. Private sector takes the lead and puts pressure on the state through advocacy groups like the After Policy Network, which is a think tank, like CBAD, which is a non-profit advocacy group, for the enabling ecosystem and framework to be put in place. So for instance, in Ghana, last year, local processors did not even have 10% of their projected aggregation to be able to process locally. So what the government is trying to do, and I know that is also happening in Nigeria. Nigeria is a market that tries to restrict a lot of its market activities through government intervention because they are large on their own, and when they produce, they can actually consume. What we see states doing locally is that they are coming up with regulatory frameworks which actually monitors the production of soya, and by so doing would also monitor the export of soya out of West Africa. But what we are saying in Ghana, recently the Minister for Agriculture was quoted in the dailies to have stated that within the first quarter of the year, they are going to form the National Grains Board, National Grains Authority, which was going to regulate the export of soy. So this is in that direction. But from where we sit as private sector, what we are saying is that putting measures through partnership from investors to create more mechanization, because the land is there. Remember in my earlier submission, Africa is home to 60% of the world's arable land. When there is more mechanization, you can ramp up production, increase production twice, so that you are able to make up for the shortfall in terms of local demand, then you can export. This is supposed to be an opportunity instead of actually a burden, because there is the opportunity of sending out grains which will bring you back foreign exchange. But unfortunately, we see the regulator wanting to restrict export. It's a free market space, so you don't want to do that, because when you do that, it's going to lead to smuggling. Rather, if you ramp up mechanization through investor support to the farmers, you can ramp up production. Then over time, you increase your production base to be able to meet both the export demand and the local demand. So practically on the ground, I see Ghana doing it, I see Nigeria doing it. The other lesser markets like Togo and Benin gradually try to be in the middle so that they are not caught between Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria. But yes, regulatory in the space to monitor, the value chain is great. But what we don't want to do is restrict export. Thank you.
And Jeffrey has touched on a lot of things that have sent my mind running all over the place. But let's talk about value addition. I think there's this stereotype on Africa that makes Africa look like more like the hub for raw materials instead of a place that value can be added to what is produced. What, in your opinion, what do you think we are getting wrong, and what can we do to take that stereotype away to attract investors to make efforts to make this place more of a value adding place than a raw material hub?
So, as a Ghanaian farmer, what we do is to travel around the region and engage farmers, individual farmers, on what they grow, what's the duration, harvest time, marketing opportunities, and of course the challenges, and if they are open for opportunities. So this information is put out on TV and uploaded on the YouTube. With regards to value addition, I mentioned to you that it is what these farmers say. You can watch these interviews on the internet. It is what they say has to do with this value addition you mentioned. Most of them, most of our smallholder farmers, they are so much ready to produce for if there are going to be small processing companies that would buy the produce from them and process it. Now listen, in Sawam, there's a farmer called Mr. Mills. He has about 40-acre pawpaw farm. When Mr. Mills harvests his pawpaw, he sells some of them, and the rest, to avoid it getting rotten, he takes the prisons. There is one prison for them to consume. And he is investing into this 40-acre pawpaw farm. And the last time I went there, he told me, hey, no, just look at this pawpaw farm. And because I do not have the means to establish a small plant that can process this into a juice or any other thing, I end up losing my investment. So every time I upload each interview on YouTube, I get phone calls from foreigners. Okay, and I've watched this particular interview, and I would want to engage this farmer on what he would want us to help him with. Is it about establishing a factory or maybe a small means of processing the produce, or they want to sell it for us to go and process elsewhere and bring it back? So what I normally do is to liaise between the farmer and this third party that calls. I normally advise them, first of all, they need, ways to scale up or expand the farming they're doing. And secondly, establishing a plant here would help. Then you come in to buy and take it away. When you establish the plant here, you get to employ people within the community. They get job, and the women also get stuff to buy and go and sell. We are able to consume organic stuff, because most of these juices that come out from other parts, you don't know what is mixed with it. For preservation, you don't know what goes into it. But if it's done here, it will help a lot. So farmers are so much ready to produce on large quantity for it to be, processed into something else. When you go to it's one of the regions they produce a lot of watermelon. At the end of the day, you drive around the Sogakapa Rouge or going to Ada, and these watermelons are lying down rotten. Why should it be so? We have to get people, and that's why I always say that my father back in the days was a rice farmer. But if I should go on the internet and I type his name, nothing pops up for you to know that my father contributed to the agri space. And that is what inspired me as one of the reasons to go around, carry my cameras, including my crew, to go and document these farmers, put it out there for investors who are out there, including Ghanaians who are out there, to come down to invest. You know what? Somebody called me recently, it's a Ghanaian in the US, and he said, I want a group of farmers who can rear rabbits so we can use the skin to produce leather shoes. And we are in the process to gather young farmers who will be interested. They want to pre-finance the rearing of the rabbits. They will give you everything. At the end of the day, they need the ladder to make a shoe. So farmers are very much open for these opportunities. When you sit them down and you speak to them about these opportunities, they are so much interested. But right now, it is left with the information going across, and that is what I am doing. And we need a lot more avenues to put out this information, a lot more ways to get what Ghanaian farmers are doing for the investor community abroad to know that, listen, there is a lot of produce here. A lot, about 60-70% is rotten away. Because when you go to the market, we have less warehousing. I mean, buffer stock is doing its part, but is it enough? No. We need more warehousing. We need more storage facility. But even though if it's in the, they have durations. Onion around 2 weeks, it is already melting. Tomatoes will not even get it 2 weeks, and other crops. So definitely, value addition is something as an advocate for agriculture or agribusiness we are so much keen on. And anybody here or anybody who is watching on the internet and wants to liaise with any of those farmers and see how best they can establish plants to process some of these produce is so much welcome. Our farmers are not objecting to processing. That is not the case. We are so much open for processing. They are so much ready for individuals to invest money into those funds for them to expand, to be able to feed the plant. Because some of the excuse you would hear investors say that, what if we come and build the plant or establish the plant, and the farmer is not able to, give us the daily demand. So before the plant is ready to start fully operation, you would have helped the farmers. The lands are there for them to open up or scale up the farming and plant enough to feed the plant. So that is not true as saying if whether or not we don't like to process our crops, but rather, export it. That is not what we want to do. We are so much open for every other opportunity that will help agribusiness develop. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm so interested in this particular topic that I'll throw it across to all the panelists. So let me go to you, Mr. Siama. Enyonam has mentioned publicity as one of, if I get what she said, if we tell the stories more, we might get people to invest more into value addition than making Africa or Ghana the raw material hub. In your opinion, what else do you think we can do?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I think in terms of the information, the world is a global village now. The information, as she has described, is already out there. For me, I think the challenge has to do with having an enabling environment that will attract investors to come and set up the processing factories, as we are talking about. I think the earlier discussion, I think the group chairman of MNC made certain unique points, which has a way of affecting investor attraction into the country. My company, as one of the commodity traders, we do more of exporting of our products from cashew, soya, sesame seed, and the rest. Now, to be able to set up a processing factory in Ghana or within the neighboring countries, apart from the capital investment that you need, you have a lot of bureaucratic challenges. We have an issue with our land acquisition within the country. You will get an investor, get a land, you battle for title to the land as long as you can, even when you go through the lay down processes. We have issues to do with even trust amongst ourselves, where investors come in and we have all sort of things that derail their trust within the economy, from fraud to other bureaucratic issues. So to have a way around this issue, I'm thinking that apart from the information is out there. And I'm ascribed to it that there's a lot of information she shares on YouTube, and out of that, she gets investors access. What can we do to go beyond just asking Enyanam that, Enyanam, I want to invest in whatever you put out there? It's about having an enabling environment. Company registration processes, government supports from policies to infrastructure setup, local involvement and trust for foreign. You'll be surprised that we have a class session of Ghanaians that are, for lack of better word, that are, is it foreigner buyers who will sell a land to me but will not sell it to a foreigner. Right. These, among others, is also a challenge, practical challenge that you have on the ground. So creating an enabling environment, apart from having a private sector led, we will need government institutions to create that policy framework and that infrastructure framework that will be attractive enough for investors to put up processing factories. In terms of the commodities or the raw materials, I think from where I sit, there's abundance of it. We have farmers that are prepared to grow so far as you support them. We have companies that are prepared to aggregate and distribute. But how many of the foreign investors are prepared to set up those processing factories? My colleague gave an example of the sesame seed. From here to China, it's $1,000. From China to Europe, it's $5,000. Let's do rough calculation. Even if you're able to do direct by taking off the shells and doing to China and to Europe and taking $3,000 or $3,500, that is an extra $2,500 per metric ton at the export rate. Okay, so I think it is something that generally we all have to look at. And I know my company is in the process of working around that, where we are looking at the possibility of adding values to the commodities that we export. But how many of such companies are prepared to set up? Which is a conversation that has to happen on a broader platform involving GIPC and then all the other quasi-government and other stakeholders. So I think that's my stand. Thank you.
Jeffrey, it's your turn now. Tell me, how do we take the stereotype and the tag off so that when people see made in Ghana, they purchase it with their full chest? When people see made in Togo, made in Benin, how do we take the stereotype of Africa as being the raw material hub?
Thank you very much. I believe my colleagues have touched on it, and I would like to add my voice to that. It has to do with awareness creation and publicity. We need to sell our story as Africa. Just as Enyonam said, a rabbit and getting the leather. In fact, when you look at the top three export products from Ghana to the rest of Africa, cocoa is not there, timber is not there, leather is number three. Leather from Ghana going to other parts of Africa is number three. I know a lot of rabbit farmers in Tama because rabbit as meat has low cholesterol. So instead of going for the traditional cattle, it is being advocated that people actually take in a lot of more rabbit meat. Because when it's cooked and it's before you, it looks almost like, cow meat. So again, after this session, I will be networking with Enyo now. So this is what we are talking about, that investors and agribusiness people must be deliberate about doing the necessary market research, packaging their product or opportunity to be able to link with the right people. I would like to add to what Enyenam said. There is also pineapple. Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana exports about 45% of pineapple demand to Europe. At the moment, apart from the export of fresh pineapple, and there's a company in Ghana, a lot of Ghanaians will know, called Blue Skies. It's a British company that set up here about 20 years ago. They have a huge shortfall in terms of getting the foods that they need to actually process and export. Guess what? Recently, we found out from China that they require the suckers, which is the top of the crown of the pineapple, in huge quantities. And what are they using it for? For producing ropes, which are used by ships for anchorage. So the pineapple is moving out into fruits, and we're throwing away the crowns, but we can actually add value to the crowns in Africa, export within Africa and outside Africa in terms of ropes. So it's really about selling our own story, publicizing the opportunities so that we go with partnerships. And and forgive me, if you forget anything I've said on this platform, don't forget partnerships. Because if we only focus on foreign direct investment and do not advocate for partnerships, we'll end up losing out. Because yes, a factory from China can come and set up in let's say, Botswana. But if at the end of the day it's 100% owned by Chinese and they are taking back all their revenue in terms of capital flight back to China, is zero. So again, it's about highlighting the opportunities on the continent, telling our own story, and also projecting us within our continent in order to add the value. In terms of the challenges, I'll just touch on 3 solutions. Just as Esiama talked about, there's the challenge of land. It's a challenge I have seen across West Africa. Because not just in Ghana, recently I was in Niger. I have an office in Niger where we also work with farmers. And the same problem in Ghana happens in Niger, which is the fact that families own lands. So anytime as an investor, you're coming in, you are trying to secure large tracts of land to build up a factory. Most of the time, because it's a free market system, they expect you to speak to all the families, broker a transaction before you are able to get the lease to that land. That is usually bureaucratic and it takes a lot out of investors. So when we meet the government officials or the state actors, what we are currently advocating, and we have a certain non-profit group called the Citizen Impact Initiative Network, CIIN, is that at the local level, let the local state actors, I don't like to call them government actors because these are not politicians, these are technocrats from the public or civil service system, speak to our chiefs. These chiefs want the youth to have opportunity in terms of employment, so that the chiefs will do the negotiating with the landowners, with the clan heads and with the family heads, and allocate, let's say, 2,000 acres, 5,000 acres for commercial purposes. And I know Nananom, our chiefs here will bear me out. Most of the time when government or state actors will approach them, they will do it. Then the district assembly will keep that as a land bank, purely for processing, whether a semi-processing or full integrated processing like my brother from Botswana would be doing. So that when the investor comes in, he doesn't need to be going to the family heads to be negotiating from family A, B, C to Z. The land bank is there, the problem is solved, and it can be digitalized as we see being done, by the state at the moment. So that once land is solved, it is actually 40% of the asset base of that value addition solved. So these are some of the proposals that we are making in terms of resolving issues critically such as land. The rest has to do with the ecosystem. What we are saying is that, for instance, in Ghana, the current government has a policy of 1D, 1F. Like Anyonam said, we are advocating that send most of these offices as desk to the districts, to the municipalities. In America, when I sit behind my PC and I Google, let's say, the county of Los Angeles, I'll have everything, including the mayor's number. Whereas in Ghana, it's a challenge. But if that system is integrated, where the enabling environment is being done at the local level, and you bring the desks there, the individual who has to interface would interface with that next person and deal with the issues of that local setting instead of coming to that, central level. And I believe the last panel talked about it. I noted it down. Lewis, she emphasized decentralization. So again, these are some of the solutions we have been advocating. As we are leaving this conference, whether you are a participant, a panelist, you are an ambassador of Afternow, whether you are from Botswana or from Kenya, these are issues. And because the continent in terms of our cultural lifestyle are almost the same. When I travel across West Africa, I see the same problems running through. Like the example I've given in terms of land. We are supposed to be advocates so that we put pressure on state actors to create that enabling environment and ecosystem so that we can accelerate the process of AFTA. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Another thing that Samuel mentioned was bureaucracy, and I've had the opportunity to attend a number of summits, and this has come up a lot of times. Let's now talk about how we can curb this. How do we tackle the issue of unnecessary bureaucracy in Ghana?
So, unnecessary bureaucracy, digitalize the system. I think a lot of panelists have actually talked about it. In 2021, why would you still have to walk to the registrar general to be able to register a company when in Rwanda you can do the whole process online? And I prefer to share success stories on the African continent. In Rwanda, if you want to register a company, right from beginning, in terms of the name pick, to check if the name is available, through to registering with the tax office, it's all done fully online. I must admit that the current state actors have tried. At the moment, you can partially do part of the registration online, but it's not good enough. If you digitalize the whole system, you reduce less human interaction, and by so doing, take away the bureaucracies. Again, just as it was raised here in the morning, why do we have the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, who are lead sponsors of this program, not having a one-stop desk where you can do all your registration activities? As an exporter, I am also line certified by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Recently, I was out of the country. When I came back, they had opened what they call the Impact Hub. The Impact Hub is supposed to be a one-stop office where you can have information and interact with their business development desk, product value addition desk. They've also brought in partners like the Ghana Standards Board, the PRSSD, that is the Plant Protection Department that regulates export of grains out of Ghana. I walked into the office because I had seen it online. Then as I began to interact with them, I realized that the partnering agencies like Ghana Standards Board, they've simply set up an inquiry desk. And I told them that this is not good enough. If we're serious about business, and when you go on their website, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority has a plan, a 5-year development plan to grow Ghana's total export from 5 billion to 25 billion. If you're serious at meeting that target, you have to be proactive in terms of digitalizing the system. So I was very hard on them. And this is what we have to do as industry people when we meet state actors, lay the problems in terms of the ecosystem right at their door. And let's be straightforward about it so that we push them to act, to create the ecosystem that would help in an enabling environment. Thank you.
Welcome. We are coming to the end of this session. So, Enyunam, I'd like to take your final words.
So, thank you very much. And as I'm wrapping up, what I would stress on is that AFTA is here, and it is something that a lot of people, especially the private sector, is looking forward to doing business with them. And especially as I am so much passionate about the agriculture and agribusiness space, we are saying that the little barriers that are there before you can, we look forward that after we've removed such barriers, making business smooth between the African countries and then to other parts of the globe. And also, AFTA should consider working with influencers. And I think other state institutions are doing it now. Because you see, my brother here works with a group of farmers. And by the opportunity or the fact that they're working with him, they might have heard and know about the opportunities. There's people who are middlemen or aggregators who sell produce on behalf of farmers. to other people, there are equally a lot of farmers out there who don't know about them and who haven't called on them for help. So I would suggest that after, I'm sure there's a representative here or somebody who carried that info, should look forward to working with influencers, people who have the voice to speak on radio, to speak on TV, who are writers for newspapers, to be agents in every sector and every opportunity they have, whether on social media or on traditional media, to mention these are the opportunities available. I mean, Ghana Commodity Exchange do business a lot with farmers. That if you don't have the license to do with that directly, engage people who will sell on your behalf and all that. The other time I met the CEO, I think they represent, I told her, listen, there are these information out there, but there are a chunk number of people who equally do not know this great opportunity, and their produce are always wasting away. So the fact is that they should consider, working on this information. And of course, digitization. It is very important. We need it. We need it to be expanded. We need it to be increased. We need it to be at the doorstep of even the ordinary farmer. I am educated, and my father is there. So if he needs anything, or my mother is there, and if she needs anything, she would leverage on my skill, my intelligence to get it done. How about the farmer who barely has kids who are just growing up and having reached that part yet? So we need the information to go down there to people. The digitalization. My father has a phone now, and I told him, listen, you have to download WhatsApp. Whether you've gone to school or not, try it. If you want to say hi, just get a little boy by your side. Tell him, I want to say hi to you now. And I'll start responding before you realize you can be chatting with me. So we need the digitalization to go to our doorstep. And we hope that APN, who is working with after, would be able to hammer some of this to them. And of course, the last part is that we hope that we'll be able to enjoy more of the opportunities that are available with this after policy or institution that is in our country now, because we were all excited and happy about it. We were all looking forward to how easy it's going to be for us to do business, and that is the way forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel. I'll take your final words, then I go to Jeffrey, and then we wrap up.
All right, thank you. I think first of all, I want to say thank you to the organizers of this platform. And secondly, if a lot of things have been said today, and I want everyone here to pay attention to two important things. One, partnership. Let's create that networking and that partnership and JVs that can help us expand or scale up in our various sectors. Two, integration, either forward or backward. Let us look at integrating, either with the farmers or with the off-takers, depending on the commodities that you trade. And then I also like to say that with the people here, please let's patronize the exhibition, because there's a lot of things there that we could share around and get to know about. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe my co-panelists have said it all. I would just like to encourage us as participants, not just to come to this conference and go away with the information we have received, but to actually be part of making the dream of an integrated aftermarket happen. Wherever we sit, whichever corner we find ourselves, it has to do with, like we've already said, partnerships and integration. The faster we are able to network amongst ourselves and synergize, the greater the prospects are for the market in terms of the AFCFTA to grow. We know that even before it took off, it is the first free trade area to have had its treaties signed in record time. Not even the WTO, in terms of its history, was able to achieve that. So these are the success stories about Africa we need to carry out there. And as we network and partner, we quickly integrate so that we can create value for our own population. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So we've come to the end of this discussion. We've been talking about agribusiness, value chains, and investment opportunities under the Africa Continental Free Trade. My name is Ethel Poplampo. I'll hand over to Emmanuel Bansa so that we come to the end of today's session. Thank you very much.